Hello, welcome. This is Samuel Ambrose Onen. I am happy, very happy that we have got to the last bit of our understanding of Git and GitHub. Now, this last part is just about implementing our Git repositories working environment, where we are going to create the local repository, the GitHub repository. We are going to set up everything now to make us be able to work in the Git and GitHub environment. So we are going to go through all these modes of operations, beginning with the configuration. We are going to configure our Git, what we did clear previously from our repositories. We are going to reconfigure them back and obviously we'll be working on what is called working environment, which will be the Git repository, because without Git repository we cannot do anything to set up our Git, so we need to create that environment. So the environment in which Git operates is called a repository, and that is the working environment that we're going to create after configuration. And that environment comes automatically once Git is configured and initialized in a given folder. And then from there, my friend, we are going to start manipulating our files, where we will go to the staging mode and then revise our work, using different commands, especially the troubleshooting command that we have used previously. And then we will do a lot of commit messages and checking them throughout, and committing and creating branches. I call that scalability, because we will be building up what we have already and then putting it on top of one another, and that to me it is not far from scalability. And then we'll be doing a lot of collaboration or networking by linking local repositories to the remote repositories and try to push and pull the version of our files in order to control them. And then we will be getting a lot of help and support wherever, whenever we get stuck or whenever we need any support. And please don't shy up, because Git provides fantastic support network for whoever is interested to learn Git. So don't feel shy to use that Git support system. And I'll demonstrate the most important scopes of the system of the Git environment. We have the system, global, and local scope. So that is the plan, my friend, for us to have the basic fundamentals of Git. So let's get started. So this is the setup that we previously had, and we cleared everything. We clean up the repositories, the local repositories, the clone repositories, and even the GitHub repositories. We clear everything. You see, this was the clone repository there, some Git code. We clone that in our local machine, and we clear everything from it. And also we had our local Git repository, as you can see, is empty there. Git tutorial, that was the local Git repository, and this one was the GitHub repository, as you can see in the picture there. So that's their picture. This one was the clone repository, and it was that one there that you see in the picture, and that one was our GitHub, as you can see. So today we are going to bring what we had cleared back so that you guys can be able to see how to set all this up. I'm going to create that repository and then clone a GitHub repository from the GitHub. But before doing that, I just want to go to the internet and create our GitHub repository before creating the local repository. That will be the next target, and then we will come and link them together in order to start working to meet our goals. And remember, our target is to be able to set up the system where we can be able to work remotely with others, share our documents, our folders, our version with others. This circle here symbolizes collaboration with others on the GitHub from the local repositories. We can be able to push, pull, and fetch and share our codes and the version of our codes with others over the internet. And another goal is to to be able to keep the copy for ourselves, and that is represented by this circle there. So we need to be able to control the version and have the copy in our local machine, and at the same time be able to share a copy with others and keep our backup in the GitHub by creating GitHub repository. So that's the plan, my friend. That is what we want to achieve, and this is the paradigms of operation in the Git environment and GitHub that you really need to master. We are going to start by creating our GitHub repositories from the GitHub internet. So let's go to the internet and create our GitHub repository. I have already created the GitHub account, so now we are just going there to create our repositories, because we have cleared or deleted the previously existing repository simply because we want to have nothing completely, so that we start going through the process of creating everything from the scratch together. So let's go. I'm here on the internet on my GitHub account, and as you can see, there's no repository, and you can see the overview there. You don't have any public repository yet, as you can see on the screen there. That is the message that shows that we are in fact sitting here on our GitHub account without GitHub repository. Remember, from the beginning of my tutorial, I told you that GitHub repository is created on the GitHub account, and GitHub is found on the internet, is the server which is there to host all the repositories that we want to share with others, even the repositories that we create from the internet that we want to work on it by ourselves. So GitHub is almost the same. It's like our local machine, but is found on the internet. So let's go and create our GitHub repository. So we go to repository there, and then because we haven't got any repository now, and as you know, we deleted the repository. You see GitHub account shows my profile here that I joined 2 weeks ago, which is true. Now we are going to create repository. If you want to find some repository which you think is hidden somewhere, you can use search, find a repository there. Let us try to find what we have deleted. Some Git code. You see, the result is 0. The result for Git repository is matching some Git code. Sorted by last update is 0. Remember when we deleted the previously existing GitHub repository, we got a clear warning that once you have deleted a repository, you will not get it back. So we have to recreate a new one. We have to create a new one right now. And that's what we are going to do. So to create new Git repository, we are going to hit that new button. And then from here, my friend, we can give the name of our GitHub repository. What do we want the name of our GitHub repository to be? So based on my model diagram, I want to create a GitHub repository called some Git tutorial. Some Git tutorial. Yeah, this is the repository I want to create. It's called some Git tutorial. I'm creating it on the GitHub. So let's go and do it from the GitHub. Some Git tutorial. So that's the name of my Git, and some Git tutorial is available. You know, if it was taken by somebody, we would not have that name available. But now Git is telling me that some Git tutorial is available, and the description is optional. I can just give a brief description like tutorial GitHub. Tutorial GitHub repository. Remember, this is entirely optional, but I just feel like you know, it's better to have some kind of description so that people know the purpose of this GitHub account. This GitHub repository is basically for tutorial, and this is where I told you that if you have your GitHub, you can choose either private to use it locally on the web, and then if you choose to share it with people, that is where you need to select public. And in this case, because I'm creating it now to be shared by the public, since I will be tutoring the public, it is prudent for me to make it to be public. So it is a public Git now, and then you go down here. If I have any file or any document that I want to be ignored, then I can create add the templates here, but I don't have anything to be ignored at the moment. So readme, you can add readme. This will be inside our repository if you want, but it's not a compulsory. It's something that people usually do, but really it's not a requirement, so I'm going to leave them. The license, choose a license, and whatever I'll be putting inside this GitHub repository will be entirely for learning purposes, so it's unlicensed. I think I'd rather leave it as none, because no license. So my friend, from here you are creating a public repository in your personal account. Yes, I create. My friend, as you can see, we have created a GitHub repository, brand new GitHub repository. As you can see, now we have a GitHub repository created. So Git is very intelligent. You see all these links. Create a new repository on the command line. If we are using command line interface, we would copy this link and then create a new repository straight using our command line. Now if you want to push an existing repository from the command line, we would use this one from our command line. So we are going to use this link later to link this repository to our local repository. My friend, that's how to create a GitHub repository. So we have our GitHub repository now. Let's go to the local desktop and create the local Git repository and link it to this GitHub repository. Get it right, please. Back to our local machine. To create a local repository, we are going to go under our folder, Explorer, and then we want our local repository to be called Git tutorial. We go on the desktop and create a folder, a new folder. We call it Git tutorial. Git tutorial. My friend, this is a Git tutorial folder I've created. This is just a folder without Git. So this folder is basically, at this point, this folder here is just like that one there, not a repository. This is the folder I have created so far. I call it Git tutorial. It is not a repository at this moment in time. is just a normal folder sitting inside our computer here, and the computer has Git program. As you can see, the Git program in our computer has been installed from the internet to our computer, and this folder here is sitting in our computer. At this point, it is not a repository, it is just a normal folder. So how do you verify that? Let's go to our Git bash, clear the screen, Control L, clear the screen. So my friend, let's cd go to our desktop. This is our desktop right now. Control L. We are sitting on our desktop, my friend, and on our desktop we want to look for this folder called Git tutorial, and this Git tutorial is that folder you are seeing there. This is the folder. So we want to go inside that folder to check if we can see that we have Git program in our computer. Even from the desktop here, we can check to see this Git program, to see that we have this Git program sitting on our computer. So let's actually do that. Let me put this one here. Just like that, something like that, so that part of the folder can be seen, and our terminal there. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm just following the model that I created. We downloaded Git program from the internet to our local machine. This is the local machine, that is the internet, and we are inside our local machine desktop. So this is the local machine desktop, and on that desktop we created a folder. That folder which is sitting there, this folder here is there. This folder is open here, and then we want to go to the terminal and try to get inside that folder. So we can do that, but before doing that, let me check to see if we can see Git from here, from the desktop. So we can do that by just typing Git. So my friend, you can see all these Git commands, Git usages are telling us that we actually have a Git in our system. We have Git program installed in our system, which is represented by that long arrow there. So we are on the desktop. Now when I clear that, we can now go to that folder called Git tutorial. Is an ordinary folder without Git. So we change directory, go to Git tutorial. Now we are sitting inside this folder here, and this folder is called Git tutorial, and it has no Git inside it, and it is not a repository. To check that it is not a repository, we can just try to run some Git program there. So let's say we want to see Git status. My friend, you can see it is clear that this folder is not a repository. For it to be a repository, we need that .git folder to be inside this Git tutorial folder. And this does not necessarily mean that Git is not in our system. Git is there, but it's not seeing our folder. But we can see Git from our computer, even from that folder where we are sitting right now inside here. Because when we type git here, my friend, look, we can see git program. We can see git program. And we can see all the commands for the git there. You see commit, branch, merge, all the commands we can see from there at the moment. We can see the git status to show the working tree status, and we have show command. So when we run all these commands right now, if we run it here like git show, you know, it will not work. Why? Because this folder is not yet a Git repository, but it is just an ordinary folder in our computer. Now, to make that folder a Git repository, we have to open the door. It's like opening the door of that folder for the Git program to jump and sit inside that folder in order to make it a Git repository. So, to make that folder a Git repository, as you can see now, there's nothing inside this folder. It is here. There's nothing inside it. We can go to view and declare the hidden part of this folder. There's nothing inside that folder. Now, when we open the door, when we open this folder for the Git program, this Git program here, to go inside the folder here, as soon as the Git program jumps inside there, immediately this folder will become a Git repository, and that is what we want to create. Just one command to create Git repository. But before doing that, we need to set up the Git configuration. We need to configure who will be using this particular repository, because let's say you're working in a team, and each time when you commit a message, for the team leader to identify where that message comes from, or where those messages come from, the Git program must have the identity of the person who is committing the message. And that is the purpose for configuring Git with the ID, the identity of the user. So that configuration can take place at the global level, at the system level, not at the user level, because at the user level we will be able to run these commit messages, deep, all those Git operators. We can run them at the user level inside the working tree directory. But now we haven't got the working tree directory yet, so we cannot run those commands because they're meant for the local scope. Now, what we do locally affects the system globally, because the global scope and the system scope are like the supersets of the local scope. So when you're operating at the local scope, it's like you're operating in the heart of the system scope. So configuring Git is done at the global scope of the Git program or of the Git repository. So that is the first thing we want to achieve. So right now we want to configure the Git and then create a Git repository. So these are the two things we want to do to achieve our goal of having a repository. To do the configuration now, we just use these two very simple command called git config -- global user dot name, and then space, you type username inside a quote. So I'm going to configure myself, Sam, as the user. Let me put Samu this time. Samu. My friend, we have set the global configuration. But remember, this is the global scope. At the global scope, we can run git config -- list just to see the configuration of the system. So far, we have just configured the name, and that name is here, Samu. Yeah. Now we need to configure the email, and the combination of the name and the email will be my identity when I am committing messages to the Git repository or GitHub repository. So let us go and configure git config global user dot email. So we need to put email, and then into double quotation we put Samu at hotmail.com. That's my email, my friend. And then to check that, we go to git config list. My friend, you can see my email is there. So we are done with configuring the Git environment. So to list or to show all the configuration now, let's say git config list show dash origin. My friend, this is how to check the Git configuration from the local scope up to the system scope. So I have set the configuration from the global scope. As you can see, all these are the global scope, and the user scope is the local scope is not there right now because we have not created a repository yet. So you can see the user of the system. This is just the user of the computer system, but we have created the user of this Git application which is installed in this system. The user is called Samu, and the email is called sam@hotmail.com. So this setting, as you can see, has been done at the global scope, and there where I have highlighted is called the global scope. Anything above it is called the system scope. Now the local scope will come after creating the Git repository. So now let us go and create our Git repository, because we have already configured the user of this Git application. So next time when we now try to commit our messages, the ID of the user or of the committer of the message or the author will be Samu together with the email address. And that, my friend, is the reason why we need to configure the user of the repository. And then if you're working in an environment where there are many people, other people will see that the commit message has actually come from you if you have configured yourself to be the user of your Git and the manager also will be able to pinpoint who has committed what. So that is the importance of configuring Git in this way. So now we are going to configure our working environment. And the working environment, when you're talking working directory in terms of Git language, it is the repository, nothing else. Because if you don't have repository, my friend, Git is not going to learn anything from your folder. So you need the working environment where Git will be able to see each and everything that you do in the folder. And that working environment is called Git repository. I saw many documentation out there. Many people were talking about the working environment, but they did not actually explicitly explain that the working directory in the Git environment or Git language is actually the repository, because it is only inside the repository where we can work, do something that Git application will be able to learn and then make us control our version. So we get from working environment to the staging mode, and then from the staging mode we will go to the commit mode. So the working environment is where we will do the changes, do everything, work on the file, and the file will be seen by the Git, but it will not be tracked. Okay, but Git will be able to see it, otherwise it will not understand whether the file has been tracked or untracked. So the fact that the file is always indicated as untracked, it means that Git has learned something about it to know that it is untracked. So this is the working environment for the Git. So I would like you to take that note seriously. Now, let us make this working environment by creating what is called Git repository. Now to create Git repository, we just need only one command, and that is to say git init. Now the git init is like we are opening the floodgate of heaven for Git to enter into our folder. So we are opening the gate of heaven, and that is Git itself. So let us allow Git to come inside our folder by saying git init. That's it, my friend. You can see initialize empty Git repository, So this folder now is our Git repository, and when we go inside that folder, we will see .git jumping inside that folder. As you can see, my friend, we have .git there. We can also delete it to prove. Let's say remove. It will not do anything. I'm just removing this. Remove recursive force .git. So I'm just taking it, I'm just undoing what I've just done. You see, it's gone. This folder is empty. So we want to bring it back. You see, it's back here. So my friend, we have created our Git repository, and that is the aim we want to achieve here. So we have created our Git repository now, and that you can see Git tutorial is our Git repository there. And let me bring it so that you see that we have tutorial Git repository. So that is our tutorial Git repository, my friend. Now we have a tutorial Git repository, How do you know that this is a Git repository? To know that it is a Git repository, we can run any Git program. Now, Git status, you can see that the Git status on branch master, no commits yet, nothing to commit. We can check Git branch -a. This is only master branch. Let's try to run git log because we haven't done any commit. There's no history here. Your current branch master does not have any commit message. You can see that. So we have created a Git repo. So now we need to link this repository to our GitHub repository. We need to link it now so that when we start working, we can be able to push our work straight to the GitHub, right? So to do that, we want to link this Git repository to the GitHub. To do that, we go to the GitHub and grab this code here, this link. You grab that one, and then you just need to type git remote add origin. Then you paste this link here. You just paste it there. Yeah, and then you press enter. So now we have linked our Git local Git repository to the GitHub. Let's check the link. Yeah, we are linked to our GitHub repository, and this is our local Git repository, and we have connected this local Git repository to our GitHub repository. So this is the setup we have got so far. We have set up the system back to its normal setting. We have connected the local repository straight to the GitHub repository using the link, and we have created our GitHub repository, and we have created the local repository, and everything now is set for us to start working. So thank you for viewing. This is just a video to set up Git repository, GitHub repository, and to link them, to prepare them to be ready for us to start working on them. So you can verify. As you can see, we have tutorial GitHub. There's no log there. You can just say git status, yeah, no commuters yet. And then we can check to make sure that the link is there by just typing git remote -v. This one shows that we are in fact connected to our Git repository. As you can see, That's some Git tutorial, some Git tutorial, Git tutorial, Git tutorial. So this is the link between them. So this is our working environment now. So next time when we come, we are going to start working from here, my friend. So thank you for viewing. I hope this video has been informative. But before I go, I would like to show you the local scope, because when we created, when we configured the gate, remember we did it from the global scope, and when we ran git config -- list, there was nothing like the local scope, because we had not created the Git repository yet. But now we have our Git repositories. That means we have our working directory, and from there we can now access our local scope. So let us type here like git config -- list. I think from here we can be able to see, my friend, you can see this core repository. This one now represents our local scope, our area of operation, our working directory or working tree area, because we have the repository ready waiting for us. So my friend, that is how to prove that it is the repository that gives us the rights to work in the Git environment. Without repository, we cannot do anything to control our version with Git. Therefore, repository is the working area or working space or working directory or working tree, if you like, in the Git environment. So repository, whether it being a Git repository locally created or a GitHub repository remotely created and cloned into the local machine, whichever the case may be, repository is the working area, the working tree area, the working directory where we do our work. For Git to see what we are doing, in order for it to understand whether something has been tracked or untracked. Okay? So take that note seriously. And then it is from that working area where we now push the work to the staging area, where Git will now begin the tracking what was noticed to be untracked previously. And then from the staging area we can now go to the commit area, because staging is like a temporary storage in the memory where you line up the tracked files to be there waiting to be saved permanently or written in the history book for the future use. And that can only be done by using the commit message. So that is what we are going to go through in the next video. And the purpose for this video is specifically to set up the working environment, and we have done that remotely and locally and linked them together. So thank you for viewing. I hope this video has been informative. I know it has been a long one. I did it purposely because I want to go step by step, slowly, so that you understand what we are doing here. I hope you have understood. Happy learning.